Welcome to part 2 of the program review podcast. In this podcast, we'll discuss some advice for implementing a program review, and then discuss what is needed for the program development project for this class. Some advice for implementation of this program. I think Kelly and Melograno they have given some good advice, and you can read this on pages 277 and 278 towards the end of the chapter. And I'm just going to give you some steps based on this. And the first step is obviously develop your curriculum. Along with developing your curriculum, you want to develop all of your student evaluation worksheets. You should develop worksheets both for formative and summative evaluation, and some of the stuff I talked about in the last podcast. And the textbook in chapters 7 and 11 talk about how to develop your student evaluation worksheets. Then after you do that, you want to teach your classes, and then you want to collect the data for one grade level. What Kelly and Melograno suggest is that instead of trying to do everything all at once, let's say you're doing a middle school, instead of trying to do all 3 grade levels all at one time, just do 1 grade at one time. Develop your worksheets, your evaluation student worksheets for just that 1 grade level. Then teach it, then collect the data, then evaluate that grade at the end of the year and see how you did. Then the next year, go to your next grade level. So let's say you started with 6th grade. The next year you do 6th and 7th grade and do the evaluation for those 2 years. Then at the end of the year, do your evaluation, then do the 8th grade. So it's a 3-year progress. You're not trying to do all of it at one time, because that may be too much. You'll be overwhelmed and you'll just give up and not want to do anything because it's just too much work. I don't have enough time to do this. I got to teach and family, coach, and so start slow. It's better to start slow and develop a quality review program review process than not to have one at all. And it's critical also that you have buy-in from all the teachers in your school, or if you're going to try to do this at a district level, which probably be the best thing to do if you can. And so start slow and do a great review process, and this is going to be for your whole curriculum too. It's not just the program review process; it's for the whole the whole curriculum process. Another thing too is at the end you want to write a review report. When you get all done each year, after you've done the review process, you want to write a review report, program review report. You want to make judgments on what went well and what did not go so well. And then you want to show the data that supports what went well and what didn't go so well. You also want to make recommendations for program improvement. And since that's one of the key points of program review is how to make this program better, you should spend quite a bit of time on discussing what you can do differently the next time you teach to make it better. And in addition, one of the things I should also put in here, part of that program improvement is, do you need more resources? Do you need to hire more teachers? Do you need more funding? Do you need more equipment? More space? All those things that you may need. This is where you want to include that as in your report, so you can document the needs that you have each year. Okay, so what do you got to do for this class? All that stuff is for your workplace, but what do we want to do for this class? There is, in the curriculum development project, you need to develop a project review plan. Now, it's a plan. You're not going to actually do this for the project. You're only developing a plan. What should you do? How should you do your program review? There's a couple different ways you can attack this. One way is you can discuss the things on this page, or you can go to the next slide and I'll discuss what those are. So you you need to discuss how the class has decided to evaluate the curriculum's effectiveness. How are you going to do that? What process or steps will you take to determine the effectiveness of your curriculum? In what ways will a curriculum be annually evaluated? What ways will you do this? What plan have you set up? How will program modifications be identified and be made? How will student learning be assessed? You don't have to provide all your assessment evaluation sheets, but you need to provide the reader for or provide them with an explanation on how student learning is going to be assessed. It might be a good idea to provide an example. It doesn't hurt to show an example of that. But how will you determine if students are learning? Now, if students are dressing out, is that showing student learning? No, that's just participation points. That's not student learning. You have to show how students are actually learning the material. How are they learning the student objectives? How will you determine if teachers are effective or not? What process will you take to determine that? What steps are you showing that teachers are effective as teachers? Another way you can do this is you can answer the questions from the textbook, and you use data to support these. Again, this is a plan. What data will you use in these questions to show how students or how your program is effective? So you can answer the 3 questions from the textbook. Is the program producing the desired results? How will you prove that in your curriculum? Is the program being implemented as intended? What data will you show? What data do you intend to show that the program is being implemented as intended? Is the program plan appropriate? Again, for these and the other way to do the program review, I just want to plan. How are you going, what's the plan for actually doing the program review? A plan of action. Now when you write this plan, because it's a written report, this plan should be written in the future tense, will be this. Okay, because this is going to be something that's in the future. You're not going to be able to do this. So this is what we will do. And it should be written in the third person again. Third person is taking yourself out of the paper for this. You're probably going to need to get some references for this. You may need to do additional research in addition to what the textbook says. You need to provide references in text, in the paper, and as a reference page. Now it's your final project. When you turn in your final paper, you need to have just one reference page at the end. It may be more than one page, but just provide all your references in one reference page. You want to provide the reader with enough information that they can understand your program review plan without having to read anything else. You may want to have somebody else read it, as an education person, read it and have them read it. Do you understand the steps that we will take to do our program review? It's always good when you write stuff is to provide an introduction and a conclusion. I was taught how to write is tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you just told them. That's the introduction, the body of your paper, and a conclusion to summarize what you just told them. That's just good writing for most of your assignments that you want to turn in, and any papers, any presentations that you want to give. You want to tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you just told them. It should include information about student evaluation. How is it linked to the program review? These two things are very critical to one another. And again, you also have to talk about how the student assessment is linked to your program goals, content, and learning objectives. And so Remember, the ABC model teaches that all these things are interconnected, and they are. Every single thing, the curriculum is connected to assessment, which is connected to program implementation, which is linked to teaching, which is linked to program evaluation. They're all tied to one another. So you have to talk about that in this. And this is the last podcast for this class. Have fun with this. Use the textbook, use outside sources to support what you're doing. And I hope you enjoyed it.